Project, as brought to you by the Goslings.
The Lazarus Project. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. We had a catastrophic failure of technology here.
I think people are probably getting the notification that we just started another stream and they're hopefully coming over here. That was awful.
Yeah.
I mean
emotional damage.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That was legendary.
Yeah.
There we were minding our own P's and Q's.
Mm-hmm.
And
all of a sudden
no, God! No, God, please, no!
You know what? We might have to scrap all of our plans and, just maybe invest in a new
computer.
I think it's a software thing.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, I think it's a hardware
thing. Yeah.
I've been running this thing so hard.
Nick really puts this thing through its paces, and the computer usually does a good job. I think we may have done a bit of boundary testing with the computer. What's up, Richard? Hey,
Richard is on. What's up, buddy?
Because while we were airing this, and you guys were watching Austin's interview, for the Canon Film Guide, we were back of house. We were on another screen, like messing around with Canva, trying to get the picture of Nick in his ninja outfit.
Yeah,
running.
I was because I had committed to show everybody that, but
yeah,
I think that was really, really like
memory
intensive. There's images everywhere.
Yeah,
I have every port in this thing full. I mean, it's running. I think it's getting old.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it locked up. The stream went on for another 5 minutes while we were trying to figure out how to unlock it. And we just had to do a total. I had to pull the pin.
Yeah.
And we had to just totally reboot. So anyway,
hard reboot. Computer, like keyboard locked up, mouse locked up.
It was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Had to hit the button.
And it could happen again. It could happen again. But we're gonna have fun with you guys. In the meantime, I'm gonna try to tee up Austin's interview again.
I think it'll be fine.
You think it'll work this time?
I think so. Yeah.
My goodness gracious!
I think it was the extra stuff we were trying to do that maybe overtaxed it. So lesson learned on that one, computer.
Man, I am so sorry, guys. All right, let me get this teed up here.
So while Nick is getting that done, if you are tuning in anew, first of all, we want to say thank you to everybody who was hanging in there in the chat. I was chatting on the phone just as a backup, trying to keep the chat going and make sure everybody knew we hadn't just been abducted by demons. And so
the rapture did not happen.
No.
Some of you were getting excited.
Yeah,
you're like, ooh, pre-trib. I was right. I was right all along.
That's right.
And then you were like, oh no, I'm still here.
We also have to go through this. So
it was not the pre-trib rapture.
Yeah.
My computer froze. It destroyed everything. It ruined the entire stream.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna try again. So let me.
Yeah.
I got it all teed up. Oh, Gabe back on. Hey, thank you for coming back.
Thanks,
and
guys.
giving us another.
Yeah, thank you, Gabe.
Another try tonight.
And if you are tuning in anew, then we are the Goslings, and we interviewed Austin Trunick, author of the Canon Film Guide, the expert on all 80s B schlock movies made by Canon Films. He was a real sweetheart. We interviewed him for an hour, so click the link and subscribe to the channel. And we hope that this won't happen again. It's good. It's a good opportunity to also mention our Patreons so that maybe we can afford a new computer one day.
Yeah, for real. Colin McIntosh says hi, guys. Hey Colin, thanks for watching. Thanks for being on. Yeah, we might have to invest in some new hardware.
Yeah, it happens eventually.
I mean, we've been doing this. We've been running on this machine for 2 years, and even before that, I was using it for like my personal stuff, like making videos with my kids and our kids' channel and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think this computer's seen better days.
Yeah,
it's better days. But thank you for joining us. I'll go ahead and play Austin Trunick, and I'm gonna try to get caught back. Do you know how far into that?
I think we were 22 minutes in.
22 minutes in. Let's see here.
So we were real close. We were 2/3 of the way through the first half.
Okay.
Probably around right there somewhere.
Okay. All right. Here we go. We'll be in the chat, and hopefully we'll see you guys in another about 10 minutes.
Yes.
But things that were like Chuck Norris and Charles Bronson were very much that sort of middle ground between like a Rambo movie and like a Reb Brown movie.
Yeah.
So they did them fast. That was the other thing too, is Cannon was very good at getting a movie through production. One of the most famous examples is Breakin'. If you saw Breakin', the breakdancing movie,
I did not.
That idea, from the moment they even had the idea to make a breakdancing movie to the day it was in theater, was 9 weeks.
9.
Which is
holy cow.
Yeah.
Right.
From idea to being on the screen for people to pay and watch.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it ended up being a hit for them.
Holy cow.
That was, I mean, they shot 2 missing in action movies in the course of a year, and they came out within 6 months of each other. It's things like that happened all the time. So they worked fast. If you could, 9-12 weeks was not a unusually fast span of time for them to make a movie. I think New Year's Evil is a horror movie. Of course, they had an idea that all these holiday horror movies were coming out back in the late 70s, early 80s. That movie was shooting in October of 1980, and it was out for New Year's of 1980.
Jeez.
Which is,
wow.
That's just the way they did things, and that's
incredibly fast.
Yeah, and that's why when you watch these movies, there's kind of fun mistakes. There's things where you can tell like they didn't do many takes of this, but no, because they were trying to pump it out as fast as they possibly could.
Yeah.
Do you see? Are there any like modern day equivalents of that type of production that you noticed?
Aside from Bollywood.
Aside from Bollywood, yeah.
I mean, I don't think there is a
besides the iPhone
an exact equivalent these days, but there are definitely, I think, movies where you can see a bit of the like family DNA present in it. I think you have like the entire line of Taken movies, and I think those very much come out of the Charles Bronson, like being in Death Wish over and over and over into his 60s.
Yes.
And so things like that. There's definitely you can look at movies today and see where they came sort of out of that groundwork that was laid canon in the 80s.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the appeal to canon films is? Because they've been around, or they were around through the 70s, and they became popular in the 80s. But I mean, even I remember growing up in the 90s. Again, these movies were either on TV on the weekends or they were in the video stores, and I mean, they were just like mainline, like catnip for my kid brain, my tween brain. But like, what do you think has sustained canon's popularity over the years for so many people?
Well, I think a lot of people don't initially realize. I think it takes a lot of people a little bit of time to realize that this was one company. A lot of these movies came from the same place, the same little circle of people. But once that connection is made, even somebody who doesn't think they know anything about canon, they'll suddenly realize when you're talking about it that they know 3, 4, 5 canon movies. It's suddenly a bunch. Yeah. These were part of their childhood.
Yeah, just like me. Yeah, just in the past 20-30 minutes.
Especially if you were part of that sort of that VHS, the video rental era. That is, it's very unlikely that you made it through your childhood without seeing some of these movies. And it was something, there's another, even if you didn't do that, people who had cable, I talked to a lot of people who their parents had cable when they were young, and these movies were nonstop rotations on there. So a lot of people were, they think they won't know a movie, but then you start talking about it and they're like, oh crap, I watched that 4 times when I was, on Saturdays when I was 13 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Back in the 90s, I only bought microwave popcorn at Blockbuster.
Oh yeah.
And the green apple sour straws. I'd get one of each, a box of the popcorn, the sour straws, and I'd leave with 2. It took me forever. I'd leave with like 2 or 3 movies, but it took me forever to find something.
Really?
Yeah, and I miss it. I
Oh,
miss
dude.
Friday night, man.
Yeah, I remember Friday nights, like, Nick and our eldest brother BJ and our dad, we would all go to the Blockbuster or movie gallery even, and
Mhm.
yeah, dude, and those movies were everywhere. And it's like everybody got, well, just like you, dad would get a movie,
Mhm.
and then because he's paying for it, and then like everybody else you could have one, maybe two other movies,
But you had to ask permission.
but you had to,
Yeah,
you
they had to.
get
My
clearance.
parents would have to review it. Like, no.
Yeah, and you were just hoping that like they didn't see the half-naked girl,
I'm covering that part with my thumb.
Yeah, yeah, or see
they're like, what's it rated? I'm like, oh, I don't know.
PGR,
Yeah.
or like you hope that,
But Danny saw it. He said it was great.
yeah, or you hope that like they don't see the part where it says like wizard,
Yeah.
Mhm.
The super religious parents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no demons in it. No.
Yeah, no, it's not a real demon. Yeah, well, okay, so it exists in the cultural zeitgeist. They had this crazy, business model. They had this crazy production. Is this kind of like what led you to write these books?
Yeah, that's very much. I spent many years writing for magazines and a couple different online outlets, reviewing movies, doing very typical critic stuff, writing interviews and features for new films.
Yeah.
And I just had the freelance life for a while, going, invoice to invoice. But when my daughter was born, my eldest child, so gosh, almost 8 years ago at this point, I was
Awesome.
kind of looking for a project I could work on in my own time, something that interested me. I was keeping weird hours. I was, again, being a freelancer, I didn't have that sort of 9 to 5 that my wife had. She had a regular day job.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was the one home with the kid. And I was trying to think of something, sort of racking my brain for something I could write about and something I felt attached to. And Canon kept coming up. That there were popping into my head because when I was thinking back to movies that I knew and I loved, and still to this day, I mean, to that day, I love throwing them on and things like that. And it worked out well. It was something that it just sort of it grew out of that. It started as a very small project. It was going to be one book, like where I was talking about my 50 favorite Canon productions, and snowballed.
Yeah.
Snowballed into 3 books. The second volume's over 1,000 pages. So
Wow.
it's crazy how large it's become. But as I talked to people, I did a lot of interviews in these books. I liked capturing these stories as well. These are people who, some of them continued on in the industry, some of them that was really what they stopped. Then their careers, they went on to other careers, they found something else. But but there are some that are still very spry young people, but then there are also Canon. They had two kinds of people they typically worked with. One were young and hungry people trying to get into the film industry with getting their first jobs at Canon. And then you had people who had done most of their work in the 50s, early 60s, and were kind of on their way out, or kind of had not been working much. And Canon, with Monaco and Golden Globus being such huge fans of that era of Hollywood, they would hire a lot of these guys who back in the 80s were in their 50s, 60s. And a lot of those guys, a lot of those people specifically are passing away. And so that it came sort of a mission there. It's like, I want to try to keep talking to these people, because this is a era of film history that it's being taken more and more seriously, which is good, but it's also in danger of being just passed over. People aren't going to realize that people have a fondness for these films until all the people who made them are dead. That's something I worry about.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, in a way that people don't expect, that becomes an important mission, because you are first of all doing something kind for people who may feel like they've been kind of forgotten by culture, and the other thing is you are preserving, stories. You're almost like in a weird, like kind of goofy way. You're like an Indiana Jones of, you know, these awesome stories. Like it belongs in a museum, you know, and you know, you kind of are like preserving these awesome things for posterity and for people to look back on. And it's a cool legacy. It's really neat. You know,
what are your top? What's your favorite Canon film for action?
Okay.
And horror, and then a favorite horror Canon film, and then what's the other category that they typically did?
Those two primarily.
Are those the main ones? Mainly action and horror. Yeah,
those are probably their two most ones they're remembered for the most. They worked everywhere though. I mean, they did musicals, they put out operas, they did dance films.
Yeah,
literally everything.
Sci-fi.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Revenge of the Ninja fan. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but that was a movie that I remember seeing that box cover before I was choosing those movies. with my father, and it was burned into my head. He wasn't the ninja movie fan, but I wonder if your experience was the same. My video stores, at least once I got to middle school, we had a video store that was really right near the school you could walk to. So I would leave the school, would walk to the video store with a buddy, and then in the afternoon we'd watch movies. And typically the video store, at least then, and I think this is what a lot of people a lot of others I've spoken to have experienced in the 80s, they would rent the movie to you if it was rated R for like violence or horror or something. They didn't care. You could be, 10 years old. But if there was nudity or something in that would be where they drew the line. It was just, it was funny. I would finally get to see things like Revenge of renting that all the time once I was like walking into the video store with my little friend when we and watching it in a audience. So Revenge of the Ninja was a movie that specifically lived in my head as like the most awesome thing based on the cover art, and I didn't see it until years later when I could rent it on my own. But I mean, this was the video store. I remember they would rent you Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but not like Last American Version. Like even though,
even though which one is going to scar a child more?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, pick your poison. Well, that's kind of how it was for like our parents too. Like violence was okay, cursing to an extent, you know, and then like no sex or nudity though. If it was
verboten.
If it was R and it didn't have any sex and nudity in it, then like Dad would take us to the theater, buy our tickets, and then like dip out the back.
Yeah, he'd just leave.
Just leave us
walk us in and then just leave.
Did you work on this? Oh, go ahead, Austin.
Oh, I was just saying one of my very vivid watching movies with my parents is I remember having to cover my eyes at certain points.
Yes.
And it was always the love scene. You know, you'd have you'd have the hero, dropping grenades down people's like shirts and blowing people up and shooting rocket launchers and things like that.
Yeah.
And it would be fine. But then like once the hero and the heroine were like leaning in together, even if they were fully closed, it'd be like, cover your eyes just in case.
Yeah. And no one will hit the fast forward button.
No, you hear the whole thing.
Yeah, like that's the thing that like looking back on, I'm like, why didn't they just like save us all the awkward agony?
Yeah.
And just hit the fast forward button.
I do that. I do that with my kids.
Yeah, see, there you go. Yeah,
if there's something like, oh yeah, I forgot about this part. Yeah, close your eyes and I'll try to skip forward.
Yeah, our dad would always do that. He'd always forget, and he probably did. He probably actually legitimately forgot about the one love scene, or the one bit of nudity in Total Recall or something, and and have to fast forward it. Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
Quick shout out to Ice Queen Empress with a $50 super chat. What?
Awesome.
Pretty awesome. Yeah.
Huge blessing.
Thank you. Yeah, because apparently we need a new computer. So.
I think so.
Or some, defrag software or something.
I'm gonna have to. That's this week's project. To figure out what went wrong and how can we prevent that in the future.
Yeah,
help me, Lord, please.
So, we were curious. Nick is going to get the second half of Austin Trunick's interview queued up here, but we wanted to see in the chat. We wanted everybody to tell us which Ninja Turtle do you think you are?
Yeah.
Or which Ninja Turtle is your child? Are they more of a Donatello? Are they more of a Raphael? Are they more of a Michelangelo?
I was about to say that right away, bro.
The only thing we're missing is a Leonardo. You know?
Wait,
we're looking
what?
for a stable balanced one somewhere. We can't find
What?
Yeah. We got a Donatello. We
Yeah.
got a Michelangelo. And we got a Raphael. I guess maybe we're all.
Yeah, but
kind of
when
a
we were
Leonardo.
young,
Yeah.
my favorite
Was Leonardo?
was Raphael.
Mine too.
I wanted to be Raphael. I
Yeah.
thought you were a Donatello guy when you were a kid.
I like Donatello in the arcade game at Chuck E.
That's
Cheese.
what it was.
Back then it was called
The one that
Showbiz.
we beat.
Yeah, right. Dude, and
It took
how many
$20 in quarters each to keep that game going until
Yeah.
we beat it.
until we beat it.
At least $20
Yeah.
bucks.
Yeah. Those are like the old school arcade
Yeah.
games where like there were 4 turtles, so 4 players.
They're grinding,
Good.
man.
Yeah.
They're
Uh-huh.
grinding.
There are only 2 games that Nick and I ever beat in the arcade together. It was that one and I think Terminator 2, the arcade game.
Did we?
I think so.
Oh,
I
man, I
remember
remember that.
beating it. I mean, maybe you gave up at some point and decided to go play something else instead of just OCDing on this thing for like 2 hours, you know.
Colin says, I was Ninja Turtle Pete. I was so good at Ninja, you'd never even saw me. Nice.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gabe said he's a bit of a Donatello. No, let's see. His daughter is definitely Michelangelo, and he's a Leonardo. I don't know which one I am now. I just remember liking
Yeah.
Raphael's attitude
Mhm.
at the time. He was really cool.
What's the rat's name?
Splinter.
Splinter.
Oh, yeah.
Sensei. Master Splinter.
Yeah,
Master Splinter.
Master Splinter.
Yeah.
You give me kind of Master Splinter vibes. I think it's probably one of the
There you go. Nice.
That's high praise.
All right.
That's high.
Yeah.
And Joe's back. Joe's our nephew.
Hey,
He
what's
wanted
up,
to hang
what's
with
up?
us tonight.
You might remember
Um,
Joe from last week in the Tim
sir,
Cohen
yes, sir.
episode when
Yeah.
he was when he was filling in for me. So
Sheesh,
thank
Glad
you.
you're back and feeling better.
Thank you. Yep.
Back to it. He's back to it.
Yep. I'm pooping again. So that's good.
Bowel
Small bowel obstructions, man.
That's
Like
good
it is
work.
a special kind of hell, and there's like not anything they can really do about it, and there's not anything you can really do about it. It's like, yeah, like I talked to like every surgeon, every poor soul who had the misfortune of walking into my room, you know, got like what about this? What about this? What about this? You know, and
Yeah.
like every one of them is like, no, pretty much just works itself out on its own,
Oof.
or we have to operate. So
Oh.
we could try an NG tube shoved up your
Right.
nose and down your throat
Ooh,
again, you
ooh,
know,
ooh,
but
ooh.
it doesn't really, you know. Yeah, so it sucked, but I missed it, man. I missed being here.
Yeah, we missed you, man. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you're back
The
and feeling
legend.
good.
Yeah.
Lynn Etheridge says she is Raphael. That's cool. A lot
Nice.
of Raphaels. A lot of Raphaels, man. Everyone likes
Yeah,
Raphael. He's
everyone
got the
likes
attitude.
Raphael,
He's tough.
yeah. But
you
he's
know?
got the dumbest weapons. That's how cool Raphael is.
He doesn't need big weapons.
Right. He's got that attitude.
Yeah, he doesn't need 2 katanas.
Yeah, the
What was
two.
it, the nunchucks?
He doesn't need
No, Raphael has
technology.
the size.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah,
do remember that,
yeah.
that's right.
The non-sharp
Oh, yeah.
daggers.
That's right.
you know.
Jay Reese joined us. What's up, Jay Reese Bradley?
What's up? Yeah.
Thank you for joining us tonight. And you joined us on the right stream because the first one was a disaster.
Yeah.
It was an absolute disaster. The whole computer locked up and the stream died. It was.
Mhm.
Hope you enjoy it.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. All right. We got part 2, Austin Trunick, all queued up and
Yes.
ready for you guys, and we'll come back on when it's done,
Mhm.
have some more fun, and then sign off for the weekend. You
Yeah.
guys ready?
I'm ready. Let's do
All
it.
right, let's do it. Here we go.
Did you work on this project with your father, Austin?
No, sadly, but he passed away a long time ago.
I'm sorry.
So no, that's thank you, but it's the first book's dedicated to him.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
but yeah, he would have enjoyed a lot of these. A lot of these movies were one. I wonder if he would also think he's like, I didn't realize that these movies that I was watching with you were burying themselves in your head.
You think your dad's up in heaven right now being like, why didn't I show him more like operas and musicals? And, yeah. Well, that's kind of how it is for us with this. Like, we didn't start this until a couple years ago, and our father passed away in 2015.
Mhm.
And
7 years ago.
And our slogan actually, man, it was this month too, wasn't it? Yeah. Our slogan for the Goslings is "Take up the broken sword of your father and strike down the darkness." So, like, we always love anytime there's like a paternal, connection.
Absolutely.
To any of this stuff.
Absolutely.
That's kind of like what warms my heart to these.
How many are there? I mean, how many of these film guides are in the series?
I have written two. Two are published so far. I'm working on the third one. The third will finish up the trilogy.
Wow.
So
How many canon films were there just in the 80s?
Oh gosh.
So it depends on how you categorize it. So I had to really narrow it down. I'm covering a lot of movies in this book, but it is very, very narrowed down because I chose to work with just the ones that were produced in-house by Golden Globus or came through them or were very heavily influenced by them. Because back in those days, they also bought tons of movies. They brought movies with them when they came from Israel. They acquired other film catalogs. One point in the 1980s, they acquired the largest British film catalog of all time. They had a video relationship with HBO. So they're about these movies. These books cover about 120 of their films, which I had to narrow it down to. But if people ask how many canon movies were there, my best guess, and I keep finding more that I haven't stumbled upon, but at their largest, when the catalog was the largest, I think there were about 1,100 movies released with a canon logo on them in some way.
Yeah, man.
Whoa! I thought you were gonna say like maybe 200-300.
Mm-mm.
Holy cow!
No.
Probably 200 or 300 just in the mid 80s.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez, 1,100 ish.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
That's what we aspire to do. We kind of want to be the canon film of YouTube. Of YouTube interviews.
Yeah, the Goal. I always forget how to pronounce their names. Golan Globus, is that right?
Yep. Golden Globus.
Yeah, Golan Globus, and it's very clear which is which between us.
I don't even know who what's a Golden Globus.
They were cousins. So the guys.
Oh, that's their name. That's the guy's name.
Golan and what are their full name? I can't remember.
Menachem Golan and Yorm Globus.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were cousins from Israel.
Because I thought you said Golden Globe.
Golden Globus.
Golden Globists, like people who had been at the
is
ceremony or won an award.
Golan is in like Golan Heights.
Golan Heights.
or
Golan
the Golani.
Globus. Okay.
A good gun, by the way, the Golani.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the AK. It's the Israel AK.
Oh,
So,
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
He's a gun guy.
Oh, cool.
So he loves. So another reason to love action
I don't
films.
know. I don't know which came first, the love of guns or the love of canon films, but
Are you a Death Wish 3 fan?
I have not sat down and actually watched the whole thing from start to finish, and it seems like a crime against my like philosophy not to, because I love the concept. The Death Wish concept is like it's like canon films, man. It's just catnip to like some snake part in the back of my brain, some like monkey part back there, that just it's gratifying because he's got that one gun,
right?
What's it called? Wieldy, yes. Yeah.
And the guy who invented that gun was actually like credited as a technical advisor on the movie, because that gun, after Charles Bronson, probably deserved second billing, as much screen time as it gets, and as how many shots of this gigantic magnum that Charles Bronson, I mean, guy was in better shape in his late 60s than I ever was at any point in my life. But even me, it makes me look tired watching him like hold this and like blast all these guys throughout the movie, because it's so big and heavy, that ridiculously sized handgun.
I'm gonna find a picture of it for Nick.
While you're doing that, we're huge fans of like cryptids and UFOs and all the weird stuff that we were talking about earlier. Were there ever any canon films about Bigfoot that were made? Because I know it was kind of a growing, budding phenomenon at the time.
$6 Million Man. You had the Patterson footage. You had
look at that gun.
The Leonard Nimoy show.
My stepdad loved Charles Bronson.
Yeah, he should.
Oh yeah,
why not?
Oh man,
awesome.
That's a man's man right there.
Did they ever do any like Bigfoot stuff or cryptid stuff?
No, they didn't do a Bigfoot. Like
there's plenty of werewolf stuff.
They did a vampire. I mean, space vampires. The Life Force. That's the closest to.
Oh, that's right. They did
to a supernatural movie.
Yeah, and Life Force was such a weird one because like it starts out as this like space horror movie, almost like an Alien kind of deal with but then like they get the entity back to Earth, if I remember correctly, and then she's this beautiful nude woman who, like, walks around and basically sucks people's life force out of them, and like
She's a
almost,
succubus.
yeah, she's basically a succubus. Is that remind me again.
Yeah, that's
all?
canon. Toby Hooper directed that one right after Poltergeist, and
Mhm.
it was one of the biggest budget movies Canon did, and it's all on screen. There aren't really any big name stars. Patrick Stewart's the most famous person, but he wasn't That was pre Next Generation. That was
Right.
Nobody knew who he was. He still
Back
had
in the
hair.
Dune days, right?
Yeah, it was the Dune era, Patrick Stewart.
Was it before or after he held Battle Pug?
Oh boy, I wonder what order that came in.
I'm guessing it's
probably.
Yeah,
I'm guessing it's probably. My guess is after at that point. But
did Canon make Poltergeist?
No.
It was just that director.
Yeah, they signed him after Poltergeist. They signed him to a 3-picture deal, and the third picture was supposed to be Spider-Man, which is the funniest part. They never ended up making that, but they spent years and years trying to make a Spider-Man movie in one way or another. Which is funny. Canon in the mid 80s, they had the movie rights to Superman, Spider-Man, and Captain America, which is talking about it just being a very different era of movie making. They Marvel came to them. Marvel was in terrible shape at that time, the comic book company, and they were trying to get them to buy basically the movie rights to the entire universe they could have for a song. And Ken was like, no, like none of these have any value. Like we know Hulk, like we made movies with Lou Ferrigno, but he's like people don't.
We already had him
anymore.
in Hercules throwing a bear into space.
Right.
And like here, it's right on the back. That's Lou Ferrigno. That's the Hulk in a Canon film where he plays Hercules.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So
anyways,
they bought Spider-Man and Captain America. Those are the only 2 characters that they thought had any value, and I think it was about $200,000 they paid for like the film rights in perpetuity, basically.
Wow, that's a shame. Well, obviously Disney owns Marvel now, and they're doing Captain America and Hulk and all the things. And you know what? It's boring. It's boring now.
I mean,
it wasn't at first, but now it's like, oh, great, another series about that character. Or, oh, look, a new weird, boring Marvel series.
How cool would it have been, though, for Chuck Norris to be Captain America?
Oh, man, that would have been awesome.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, like, because that's the kind of thing that you could come to expect from a Canon film, because it's so weird and so, like, I mean, I don't want to go so far as to say, like, ad hoc or, slapdash or anything as far as their production, but, like, they were just, like, putting it out there, and whatever they could do to get this awesome idea made, they would do. And it's like, if they could have thrown Chuck Norris into the Captain America outfit, I'm pretty sure they would, and I'd watch it. Like,
oh yeah,
I mean,
who would Charles Bronson play in an old Canon Marvel film?
Gosh,
that's a tough one. He's so serious.
Yeah,
he'd make a great Nick Fury.
Oh yeah,
I think.
Yeah, well, he basically is Nick Fury. I think
the cooler version of Nick Fury,
or the Punisher. He'd be a good Punisher because he basically already is. I mean, one of the charms of Canon films, Austin, I feel this way maybe just because of Masters of the Universe, but it's like, to me, Masters of the Universe codifies Canon films at its sort of tragic apex. It's sort of like, it seems like the high watermark, the angle of the Battle of Gettysburg that is Canon's career, the Pickett's Charge, if you will, because like, it's such the first 10 minutes of that movie are everything you would ever want. And I wasn't even a He-Man guy, but like the first 10 minutes of that movie, killer. And then like everything else takes place in like a Back to the Future backlot. And you can, even as a kid, like you kind of knew this sucks, when you're watching it, you're like, this is awesome, but also this is kind of like not what it should be, and this is kind of crappy, but you can't help but love it. Like, do you ever have that feeling about any of these Canon films, or are you just like in love with them for what they are?
Well, Masters of the Universe was one that I clearly remember my reaction as a kid, because I remember seeing it. I remember getting excited to see it on the video store shelves. I'd seen commercials and things like that, and then finally getting it home and wondering, like, where's Battle Cat? Like, that was I remember that
Yeah.
going in my head.
Uh-huh.
And
And who is
it's so-
Gwildor? You know.
Yeah, it's so far removed from the cartoon, which is what I know.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is missing, but it's one of these movies for being made on already, like, the budget that it had when they started was probably about only 2/3 of what they should have had, what the script would have required for them to do it, even before they set out, with already starting out like that much behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
And then they do some things really well at it. The design is great. Everything that's in the throne room, Skeletor's
Oh
throne
my
room.
gosh. Yeah.
Frank Langella is amazing as Skeletor.
Isn't he?
He's so
Was
good.
Man at Arms in it? Did they have a man? Did they have Man at Arms?
And he's
Okay,
good. And
okay.
he kind of is like a young Charles Bronson. He kind of looks
Okay.
Charles Bronson-esque.
Okay, cool.
You know, and they got Tila in it, who's his
Yeah.
daughter.
Did Canon make Flash Gordon?
No.
Oh,
they
okay.
they did not. That was
No, that was successful.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, Master Universe. And another thing is, I
What
don't
about
know.
Beastmaster?
Beastman was.
Oh, but not Beastmaster though.
Oh, you're talking about. Okay, I'm
The
still
Beast-
thinking
the
He-Man
Beastmaster.
in my
I
head.
don't know.
No, they didn't do Beastmaster.
Okay, they didn't do Beastmaster. Okay.
They did.
Okay.
They did the Hercules movies. They did the Barbarians, which are all in that
Mhm.
same vein. If you would have looked on that shelf for, like, huge roided out barbarians with big swords fighting flying
Yeah.
snakes, you would have
Yeah.
found several canon movies on that shelf too.
Okay. Okay.
But alongside
You know
your and your Beastmaster and things like that.
Cool.
You know what though? You bring up an interesting point, Austin, when you reference Beastman from Masters of the Universe. First of all, absolutely horrifying to me when I was 8 years old. I wasn't scared of like Lizard Man and I had a big crush on Meg Foster as Evil Lynn. I wasn't, Skeletor terrified me when I was 3, but when I was like 8 or 9 and Beastman is chasing Courtney Cox through the high school in Masters of the Universe, horrified. And then now as an adult, I look back on, I'm like, that's their Bigfoot movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beastman is basically their
And-
Bigfoot.
And as early as Dolph Lundgren was in his career, like I don't think there's,
He played
Correct
Beastman.
me if
Oh
I'm
no,
wrong,
he played
but-
He-Man.
Yeah.
but there's
Oh,
no
okay.
better. He looks like He-Man. He should, like, he
Yeah.
physically, like, there's no better match.
I'm
to play
glad
that
to hear you
character.
say that because I always thought that too. Like, I know, like whatever his acting chops and his voice and overdubbing and all that stuff. But like, when you're 10, who cares? You're looking at what looks like the physical representation of He-Man, and like, it's awesome.
I'm gonna let my cultural literacy show. Is Dolph Lundgren the guy who was the Russian in Rocky IV?
Yes.
Is that the guy?
Mhm.
Okay.
I
Okay.
will break you.
I would back you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
He's
I'm
so
with you.
good in that. Like, and Frank Langella is just, I mean, I know people dog that makeup, but like that looked awesome. It was
Mhm.
effective,
And the performance that he gives under that makeup, he's wearing all of those prosthetics and things like that,
Right?
and yet he's got probably like several pounds of rubber on his face, and yet it doesn't. He still gives it this, like, just this wonderful, like, wicked, almost Shakespearean. I
Yeah.
like he's
It is very
performing-
Shakespearean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he puts that in Skeletor. He's playing a cartoon sorcerer skeleton, like, but it's not beneath him. He's playing it like it's the most important role of his career, and it's amazing. Like, I appreciate that so much.
Well, in a way, it kind of was at the time. If I remember correctly, Frank Langella said that the only reason he took that role was because his kids wanted him to be Skeletor because they just loved He-Man. So he was like, I pretty much just did it because my kids liked He-Man. And it ends up being like this awesome, just tour de force performance.
Cool.
I mean, he chews scenery like Jaws chews a boat. It is so awesome.
Cool.
And he's just, I mean, every second with him on there is just like, even if you don't care anything about any of that, just if you're into movies, you got to just like watch Masters of the Universe for just Frank Langella's performance and the awesome Superman ripoff soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like, how did they get away with that?
They did all the time. You can even listen to the Hercules soundtrack is very much like the Superman
Is it
score
really?
as well. Like they found things they liked, and I think what might have happened in some cases is they would use these soundtracks, the pre-existing soundtracks, as they were cutting the movies, and then sort of have a sound alike recorded, like newly composed for it. They made the Alan Quatermain movies, two of them with Richard Chamberlain, King Solomon's Mines and Lost City of Gold, and they're very much your Indiana Jones ripoffs. But it was one of the when they were finishing the movie and previewing it at the Cannes Film Festival, they showed it to press and like buyers, like this big haul, this like sort of sizzle reel, basically, like a very rough cut, and they'd used the Raiders of the Lost Ark score, and this is 19. This is 1985 still, so like we don't have like 40 years of like this music being like some of the most iconic music ever, recognizable recorded frame film. But still, at that point, like everybody recognized it, and Canon just used that in their rough cut, thinking that they'd get away with it, like that people wouldn't like just be like, oh, they're making an Indiana Jones ripoff using the music from Indiana Jones. They just thought nobody would notice, which is wild.
Yeah. So much of what they did was just wild. It was just Wild West, crazy. Like, let's just do it and see what happens. And if we get in trouble, whatever. Like,
it's like the Goslings.
Yeah.
It's like what we do.
Yeah. We'll
just do it.
If we get punished for it, we'll get punished for it, But didn't, if I remember correctly, didn't the Alan Quatermain movies have Brooke Shields in them?
No, they had Sharon Stone.
That's who it was, Sharon Stone. That's right. And no one liked her.
You were telling me about the Alan Quatermain movies, right?
Yeah, she was the cast and the crew were not. She was not their favorite person.
But those were kind of tough shoots in a way. Like I think it was I know Mina Sirtis, complained about the shoot one time, and I think it was maybe Alex Winter who also sort of like talked about I think that's his name, the guy from Bill and Ted, who complained about, or not complained, but talked about how like just sort of chaotic the film shoots were. Like it kind of seemed like the kind of productions where if you weren't like really cool and just go with the flow, it seems like it could be a high stress environment.
You had to go in being ready to make a movie in half as much time you would with another, if you had that experience working with a studio, and half as much time, and then that maybe didn't have a script that was finished at the time. Things. Yeah. There were a lot of things. If you were a professional actor when you came to Canada and not just your first job in the industry, it would have seemed very strange, very difficult, I think.
I bet. Well, we're creeping up on an hour. We're at like almost the 55-minute mark. So I know you got to run in a little bit. I wanted to ask you real quick if you had what is like one of the craziest or funniest elements of the Canon film saga that you learned while doing research for the Canon Film Guide?
Oh boy, there are so many of those.
We'll have to get you back for like just an episode of that.
We could fill 3 episodes with that. But one that I love that I talk about in the book in front of you, the first volume, is Canon tricking Lou Ferrigno into making a second Hercules movie, making a sequel, without him knowing until they were ready to release it in theaters that he had starred in a second Hercules movie.
Did they just prey upon a deaf man? Is that
there's parts of that, maybe, perhaps, but
no way.
He had made several movies with Canon in the time. He had done this one called 7 Magnificent Gladiators, and it's actually rather hard to find these days. It's one of those Canon movies that even you got to dig around. If probably stumble on a tape at an antique store or something like that would be your best bet, because it's not streaming anywhere.
Yeah,
and it was the Magnificent Seven. That's such a hard word to say. Magnificent Seven, but with gladiators You know, that was the whole idea. It was Lou Ferrigno and Sybil Danning were the two stars.
Nice.
And they had made this movie. They'd shot it in Italy, and then they made Hercules. And Hercules, Cannon saw them as already, like, it was a much better movie, and they were not happy with the Gladiators movie. So they got the director of Hercules to. They asked him if he could film extra scenes for Gladiators, and they paid Lou Ferrigno for 2 weeks of reshoots. And so Lou Ferrigno came and they shot like a bunch of action scenes, some special effects and things like that. Cannon saw that footage and they're like, this is too good. This is as good as what you did in Hercules. We shouldn't put it in this older, like, crap film. We should make something else out of this. If we got you 2 more weeks of reshoots, because reshoots you get paid much less. You don't get paid your normal, like, fee. You don't get so Ferrigno, I mean, was not making nearly as much. But if he gets you 2 more weeks with him at the reshoot rate, can you instead shoot a sequel to Hercules 2, but not tell him, because we don't want to like renegotiate. We don't want to. So they did. Those
tricky Golden Globes.
he shot these scenes, and Lou Ferrigno thought they were all reshoots for this earlier movie. He shot for 4 weeks with them, and then when he went home thinking the reshoots were done, the Luigi Cozzi, who is the director, did so much great Italian, like, sci-fi movies, but he brought all of the actors back that weren't Lou Ferrigno from the first Hercules movie, because obviously if he saw any of those people on the set, he would have known, like, something was wrong. And he got all of the shots of them, and he basically spent 2 weeks shooting with everybody else and then cut this together, and it was Hercules 2. And it was a movie that Lou Ferrigno had no idea he was making it as he was making it. Finally, when it came up, Cannon was, they had to tell him eventually, and they're just like, hey, I think it was one of those things where Lou was kind of embarrassed to find out that, like, he had
shot
a sequel without knowing. So he kind of just sucked it up and accepted what the money they were offering him at that point. So, but it's just one of those things. It's like only in a company where you're shooting movies that fast and that loose and without scripts and without, like, you're showing up on set really like, okay, I'm going to wrestle a bear. Like, that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to fight this snake. Like, that's what I'm doing today.
Yep.
Only in those sort of conditions can you shoot an entire movie without your lead actor.
Uh-oh, we lost you there for a second. You're frozen on us. I think the weather is. Let's see here.
My office is down in the basement. I have those, like, tiny jail windows.
Oh yeah.
Looking there, and it does seem like the stuff coming down. So.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be if we're gonna have some issues.
That's all right. It's a little better now. That's hilarious. I've never heard of
that's
anything
a great
like
story.
That being able to, like,
that's a
be
great
pulled
story
off in the history of cinema. Like,
and it's like, oh, I'm sure there are. And Lou Ferrigno seems like the type of guy you probably could trick pretty easily, but I would be horrified if I were in his presence when he found out.
Right.
Yeah. You don't want to see.
At the same time, he's not the guy you want to pull something over.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
Gosh, Austin, we got to have you back, man, because, like, an hour is not nearly enough. This is
it's fun, man.
So friggin' hilarious.
We could talk about Masters for an entire day. There's so many crazy stories about that movie.
Yes, I'm telling you. Yeah, like, don't tempt me. That's like dangling a bunch of tacos in front of me. After Lent. Well, I'll tell you honestly, like, we enjoy dipping our toes into nostalgia, but we also really appreciate anytime anybody pursues any sort of passion project like this and finishes it and puts it out into the world. And you have a website, you have 2 books for the Canon Film Guide with a 3rd on the way, like, and it's tied to your memories with your father. And, like, we think this is really cool. we really like this, and it's touching on something that's like it's culturally relevant, but it's also kind of it's not super heavy, you know. And dude, we just think it's awesome. This is such a cool angle that you have.
Yeah,
love
man.
it.
Thank you
Tell
so much for
people
all of that.
where can find you. Where can people find your books and find you?
My books are on Amazon, or if you still have a local bookstore, they can order them for you. That's if you're lucky
Nice.
enough to still have a brick and mortar bookshop. Like that's support them where you can. The mom and pops
Dude,
trying
tell
to
me about it. They are
trying
going
to survive
away.
these days.
I know.
And then you can find me I'm on Facebook, Twitter, all under Canon Film Guide.
Canon
well.
Film Guide. Okay.
Awesome.
You know what, Austin, one day, like, I have this dream. I have many dreams, all of them dumb. But I have this one dream of, like, being able to one day have a brick and mortar shop that is, like, it is a repository of all those pre-digital age cool things. Cassettes, CDs, you know, VHS, even DVDs, you know, whatever. Or Laserdisc if you're like a real, you know, cinephile, you know, film snob.
Laser
Because
disc.
everybody's always like, oh, the Laserdisc is the best transfer, you know, and books, you know, because like, I mean, we're authors, we get it. Like,
Yeah.
bookstores, they're going away, they're hard to find, you know, they're becoming a niche thing. And Nick and I are like into typewriters too. So
that's
like,
cool.
I mean, it's a lot of fun, man, and it's a different writing experience, and people don't, you know, you don't appreciate something like that until it's not there anymore,
Till
and
it's
you
gone.
see what has replaced it, and you're like, gosh, man. And it's kind of the same thing with movies in a way. Like you look at modern day, you know, homogenized film, you know, big bloated budget film, and then you're like, but there's something like something tangible and like raw meat, bloody, kind of gratifying about Canon films that just like it sucks you in, man. You know, it's just a good time. So Austin, dude, please come back and see us.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. This has been
Thank
great.
you for having me. It'd be my pleasure to come back anytime.
Yeah, dude, this has been so awesome. Canon Film Guide. Is it canonfilmguide.com?
Yes, I'm up
Yes.
there. Yeah, I have to think about that. I should know that offhand, but I do. Yes.
Well, this has been a great break. I love having a guest that we don't have to ask, like, what do you believe about the rapture? You know,
Oh my gosh, everybody's talking about the rapture right now. Like everybody's so sick of the past 2 years, they all just want like Jesus to come back.
yeah, that's right.
We're like, we're sick of it.
Like,
we want to go home.
Let's just talk
I
about
mean,
movies.
If you want to watch Canon's Rapture movie, watch The Apple. Like that is
The Apple?
a sci-fi post. Oh gosh, I want to describe it as a dystopian sci-fi disco musical. That's it's obviously inspired by biblical stories.
Oh, we got to check
It's
that out.
incredible.
Okay.
I have it written down. You know, we might need to do that as homework and then reconvene here.
Yeah.
sometime. So
Ooh, that'd be weird. That'd be
no,
fun.
that's awesome. Austin Trunick, author of the Canon Film Guide, all expert of all things expert Canon films. You are the guru of the Golani globule,
The Golden Globes.
the Golden Globulus. Man, thank you.
And an
This has been
expert
Thank you.
in a very enjoyable part of our childhood too.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was fun. Thanks
Cool.
for taking me back, man. Revenge of the Ninja. Now I know which movie to go and watch with my kids. Well,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know. I'll watch it first, and then I gotta be careful because I don't remember any of the bad stuff. I just remember the fight scene. Anyway.
Yeah. They might have to cover their eyes in some of the hot tub scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, there's hot tub scenes.
No. Well, now I'm mad.
Yeah. You might have had your eyes covered through those.
All right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. Well, I know what I'm doing tonight.
All right, man. We'll see you later. Thanks again.
Have a good one. Thank you,
You
guys.
too, buddy.
Yeah. What'd you guys think?
Oh yeah,
Pretty cool, huh?
Austin's a good guy.
He really is. He's a real
He's
sweetheart.
really down to earth.
He's very down. Well, he's an Ohioan, so that makes sense.
I like those people.
dude. All like it's crazy. Like half of my best friends are from Ohio.
Yeah.
You know, I try not to hold the Battle of Franklin against them. So There's
Johnny Reb.
yeah, there's some Civil War history for you. I am wearing gray today, so
That's true.
you know, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
It is funny actually. Like, there is there for a long time there was a rivalry. Like Tennesseans didn't like Ohioans because it was the Army of Ohio that beat the Army of the Ohio River that beat
The
the
Army of Tennessee. Yeah.
at the Battle of Franklin.
Yeah.
And the Battle of Franklin was like the last great battle of the Civil War, So, but
Yeah.
dude, like I don't know what it is, man. Ohio people are cool. Austin Trunick is one of them.
Yep.
And here's his book. It is the Canon Film Guide, Volume 1, and this covers obviously like the first half, maybe first third of the Canon film history. And then, but really Volume 2 and then the Volume 3 that he's going to start working on are where like, a lot of the stuff that we all know about with Canon films.
That book is a brick too.
And it's so cool. Like, I mean, we didn't really talk a whole lot about the production of the book, but this is a really, really well-made book. There are pictures all over the place of movie posters. There's behind the scenes pictures. I mean, it's just all sorts of stuff in here. Like this is a killer little thing to have. It's really neat. So yeah, we like Austin a lot. And we were just talking about it. We were talking about, how to get Austin back.
Yeah, we'll get him back. We'll watch a couple of those movies we were talking about, and then we'll have him back and just do it live. We'll just do it live in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
And I can not come into the conference. I was totally lost during most of that conversation because I know so little about that time. I was so sheltered.
No,
I didn't get to watch a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
But except when I came out to visit you and Dad and everyone. Then we got to hog out on Revenge of the Ninja.
Yeah.
I don't remember the hot tub scene.
I don't know. I don't remember ever watching Revenge of the Ninja.
No. Oh,
No.
that's great.
I may not. I don't know.
In my memory, it's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually a great movie. Like 45-year-old now watching it, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. It's always the risk with nostalgia.
I'll tell you one movie that does hold up pretty well
Yeah.
that I watched with the kids. A movie from the 90s. Watched it night before last. We watched Twister.
Mm-hmm.
Twister. And the kids, it was pizza movie night, and they're like, wanted to watch some cartoon. I'm like, no, we're gonna watch Twister.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to watch it. It sounds boring. It's stupid. It's
It's
about
a
the
tornado.
It's about the weather. Boring.
Yeah.
Dude, the opening scene back in the 90s, they followed the story structure so tight. The three story structure. They start it with a little girl and her family getting hit by a tornado, and the dad gets sucked out of the tornado shelter, and Eva May was just like hooked.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they sat there and just stared at and by the end of the movie, they were like, "Can you show us videos of real tornadoes?" And everything now that they see a black cloud in the sky, everything's an F5. Twister's a good movie.
What's an F5 like? It's like the finger of God.
Finger of God.
Yeah.
And like 10 minutes later, there's an F5 tornado in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to move on real quick.
Yeah.
Get there.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing. It was kind of the same story structure as like Independence Day, they build, you know who else is in Twister, by the way, which is pretty cool. Cary Elwes.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's the protagonist. I'm sorry, the antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot that Bill Paxton was such an abysmal actor.
How dare you, sir?
I didn't. He's not in abysmal movies.
Yeah.
But he
was Hudson.
Maybe he wasn't I know, but maybe he wasn't well directed, but it was.
He's no good in that?
No.
I don't remember.
He was great in Apollo 13.
Yeah.
He was fantastic in Apollo 13, but
dude, he steals the show in Aliens.
Yeah. Yes, he does, but Twister is not his best moment.
Work.
No.
Yeah. Well,
it's disappointing.
Okay. Cool. Depression cast.
Bill Paxton.
Way to go, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Let's go over to the chat and see what we got. Let's see. Tricky subjects. I watched Hawk the Slayer, and it was much worse than I imagined it was. I was very upset at my standards. Well, you have to be able to adjust them, and sometimes movies are a lot better in your memory, and then when you go back and watch them later on in life, after you've developed your palate say.
Mhm.
You're like, I can't believe I like this. I'm so embarrassed.
And fully formed your brain.
Have you ever seen Hawk the Slayer? I've never seen.
No, I haven't.
seen
Tricky, is that a canon film, Hawk the Slayer? That's the funny thing about canon films is like you really don't know how many of your childhood movies are canon films or
You
not.
have seen canon films, you just don't know it.
Right. Yeah. And the thing about like Invasion America, like that one is an interesting one because it's about like terrorism on the home front, but like it was done in the 80s, you know? It's
Yep.
kind of like what is it? Wolverines. Red Dawn. It's
Oh,
kind of like Red
Yeah,
Dawn, but not like World War III. It's just terrorists.
Yeah.
And it's just Chuck Norris running around, you know,
Mhm.
just magically teleporting to all these places where these terrorists are. know.
Just showing up where the terrorists are.
Yeah, just showing up. If you're a terrorist, Chuck Norris will show up to where you are.
Absolutely.
And he will high karate kick you right into hell. You know? Yeah. Yeah.
Rambo.
Yeah. Oh, Red Sonja was canon. Oh, that's right, Gabe.
Ah,
Yeah.
all right, that's the fantasy flick.
That is the unofficial third Conan the Barbarian movie.
Okay, I was gonna say, isn't she like the female Conan the Barbarian?
Kind of, yeah. She's, you know, well, Arnold's in that movie.
Oh,
And he's basically playing Conan, but I don't think Gabe, correct me if I'm wrong, because you know a lot about this stuff. I don't think they had the rights to Conan, so they couldn't call him Conan, but he basically like was Conan.
okay.
So
I didn't know that.
yeah, it's a decent movie. It's cool.
Got the new Conan with
That's-
Momoa, Jason Momoa.
Yeah, that's right. And he's Bridget Nielsen, you know, she was in Rocky 3, but she's known for Rocky 3, but like film nerds and just nerds, we know her as Red Sonja, you know, and yeah, dude, it's cool. And those Conan movies are good. Like Gabe and I were talking about the second Conan the Barbarian movie, Conan the Destroyer with Grace Jones
Mhm.
and who was it? Lawrence Chamberlain? Is that? No, Wilt Chamberlain. Lawrence Chamberlain, yeah. And it's kind of got like a Cthulhu mythos thing to it with the bad guy. And the monster in the end is played by Andre the Giant. So.
Gabe says, I also mentioned earlier Buckaroo Banzai also canon.
Yeah, I saw that.
He would. What is this? Bonehead the
Bonan the Carbarian. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't remember what his character's name actually was, but it may as well been. Yeah, Bonan the Carbarian, because like it's like everybody was watching it like, yeah, that's Conan. Whatever. You know? Incognito Conan.
And Tricky Subject says about Hawk the Slayer, he's not sure, but I don't recommend it, to be honest. Leave your memories well alone, I say. Noted.
There's
I'll
wisdom
pass.
in that, Tricky. There absolutely is wisdom in that. So
I know wisdom when I hear it.
yeah. But yeah, everybody go to thecanonfilmguide.com. Check out Austin's books, Canon Film Guide. These things are beautiful compendiums. There's artwork or pictures on just about.
I love the pic. I love the cover.
And it's such a well-made book.
The cover's so great.
I mean, this
Takes
is
me back.
it really is a brick. So yeah, we like Austin a lot. We're gonna have him back. You know, Nick and I were talking about for the past week or so. We've been talking about how like we're kind of overbooked in a way.
Yeah.
Like I got a little too aggressive with the booking, and we are booked out into May. So we're gonna try and figure out how to do, you know, more episodes like this during the middle of the week.
Yep.
You know, just get together for an hour, live stream, you know, talk about Masters of the Universe, talk about Superman 4, you know, talk about Invasion America, talk about Death Wish 3, talk about Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah, but not an episode for every movie.
No. Well, I mean,
We got a lot of people we want to stack in.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people, yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it later. I do what I want. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, you know, you could have, like, Austin really could have a daily show where he just does one movie a day and he would never run out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He should have a whole channel set up for this.
Calendar.
Calendar. It's Paul L. Smith, Bluto. Oh, he was Bluto in the Popeye movie. The one with Robin Williams.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Wait, Raban was in. Really? Gabe, who was Raban in Red Sonja? I don't remember. I gotta go back and watch that movie.
Oh my gosh, Gabe, how do you know all these movies? How do you have time to know all these movies?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's one thing. Like, Gabe and I are gonna try and get together and do like some evening streams where we just talk about just whatever. So, because
Wow.
this is a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to take a break from the heavy stuff every once in a while and dive into all this. I'm totally lost on most of this, but it's fun.
It's educational.
It's by osmosis, I'm getting some of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and turns out I've actually seen some canon films.
I know, it was really
didn't even
funny
know it.
watching Nick's eyes light
Yeah, it's like,
up.
oh, I remember.
I know that movie.
It's a ninja movie.
Yeah, I'm not a loser. I promise. That's how I feel.
That wasn't what I
talks
was
about
thinking, but
cars or math. Whenever anybody starts talking about math, I'm like, oh god, I'm a failure. Just goodbye.
Gabe said he was the big guy with Ernie Reyes, Ernie Reyes Jr., Donatello and Kano, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Interesting. Gabe's just an 80s encyclopedia, Tricky. Yeah, I think he is. I discovered this when I got to sit here and listen to them rabbit trail off and talk about Dune, the movie Dune, and I didn't know that one person could know so much about a movie. And I was like, wait a minute, is that the one with the worm? Is that the one with the big worm? What's Dune?
Sure is.
Be Tommy.
Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got
Brother
a
love.
hug.
Hashtag brother love.
I'm not sure. Okay, I am a super geek nerd. Yeah, Gabe said he revoked my nerd card.
What?
Earlier, but I'm not sure what asinine statement I made to do it. But let's see. Gabe says I love Jesus, music, and nerddom. Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got them in the right order.
Yeah. Sand. Lots of sand.
That dude has lots of sand.
It's coarse. And it's whatever, and it gets everywhere. Yeah.
That was sus.
Anakin hates sand.
Yeah.
That's right. He does hate sand.
Anakin just,
Anakin hates everything.
The American Car says Dune terrified me when I was a kid. I wouldn't put my hand in the box for months.
Yeah. The old Gom Jabbar.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, fair. Yeah.
And who had did the good guys have the blue eyes or the bad guys?
The good guys.
Good guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
The Fremen.
All right, because I got like those what is it, A20?
Yeah.
Something
Yeah,
like
Nick's
that.
got those A20 eyes.
Yeah.
He's got Fremen eyes.
So does this mean you're like a total hater of like the new Dune movie? Probably.
It's good. The new Dune movie is really well made. It's good. I bet you part 2 is going to be awesome. I think the original one that David Lynch disowned after directing it is, from a writing perspective, superior. Because the new movies, they are telling the same story, but they are telling it across 2 movies. Whereas, like, it's an adaptation of a book, and the book is good. Obviously, I mean, the book is like Star Wars. When Star Wars came out, people were throwing around Dune as like inspirational material for Star Wars. Dune was like the sci-fi space book because it was written in like the 50s, either late 50s or early 60s. I can't remember, but anyways, so the new movies are really good. They're incredibly well made, but the old one tells the same story in half the time. So I think the writing, the adaptation of the writing is a lot better for the old movie. And plus, like, Toto did the soundtrack, and it's like peak 80s.
Yeah.
Like, the cast is amazing. The cast of the new one is really amazing too, but I don't know, there's just something iconic about that old Dune movie that's just like, it's wicked cool.
I'm impressed. I was expecting for it to be like, just shoot it. No, blasphemy.
Yeah, I know, right?
Classic
Usurper. Kill the usurpers.
Gabe, referring to the revocation of my nerd card, he says, I think it's because you said you're not into the Marvel films, but if referring to the recent ones, that's totally acceptable. They suck. Yeah, I said I tried to get into it, but they're not making it easy on me to get into it recently.
Yeah.
But I regret nothing.
I refuse to apologize.
I regret nothing. I was into Iron Man when I was like 7 or 8 because I had an Iron Man figure,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't remember why I had it or why I thought he was particularly cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about Marvel until I was in my adulthood.
Yeah. No kidding,
Yeah,
right?
crazy. I know, boring human being. That's me.
Well, that was the fun thing about the 80s is that like you had like random action figures. Like I had a Robotech action figure,
Oh yeah.
like Robotech season 2 action figure, which was weird.
Mhm.
And then I had a Jason Voorhees action figure. It's like, and they're all GI Joe size.
Mhm.
I had the little 3 3 3/4 inch,
Mhm.
action figure things. And like, I don't know where they came from. You just like collected random stuff like that when you were a kid back then.
Yeah.
Like someone would come over and they would bring their toys, and your friend would come over on the weekend and you would play with all your toys together, and then they go home, but then they leave something. And you were like, you had a crisis of like, oh, do I tell them? Do I give them back to it? Do I give them back their like Robotech figure on Monday, or do I just like hang on to it? I mean, he doesn't even really know what this is anyways, and he doesn't like Robotech, and I'll just hang on to it for a little while. And if he asks for it, if he really wants it, he'll ask for it back.
It's different nowadays.
Yeah. So Jason Young, I think I owe you a Robotech figure. But maybe your sister shouldn't have ghosted me, so I owe you nothing.
He's not bitter.
Nope, not at all. Nope.
Gabe Bello Music says, man, if only Canon had done a G.I. Joe film.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. With Chuck Norris and Charles Bronson and Lou Ferrigno, and just pull in everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
And you know what?
Yeah, kind of.
Read my mind, because I was just about to say that, like, if you want like maybe the closest approximation to like a Canon film, The Expendables and like Fast and Furious and like White House on all kind of like
White House.
Yeah, they all kind of fit in that same, or The Rock, which is a genuinely amazing movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Oh, The Rock is so good. I was listening to that soundtrack the other day. So, yeah.
Classic
stuff.
soundtrack. It's from the 90s though, right? Late 90s.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, The Rock. What's some other good one? You guys probably never saw the movie White Squall. Do you ever see the movie White Squall? Jeff Bridges?
Yeah, the sailboat storm movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like a youth camp on the water.
Yes.
And they get into a bad situation with a storm, and the kids have to it's a coming of age. These young teenage boys have to basically be men.
That's where they get the phrase "where we go one, we go all." I think.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Man, fantastic movie. There's a tragedy. One of the boys doesn't make it because of the ravages of the storm. They get back to safety. The captain is charged with like reckless endangerment or something. He's being charged with a crime for not caring for these boys, and they all stand up. All the remaining boys stand up for him, and it's awesome.
Cool.
It's so good. Anyway,
yeah,
it's a 90s movie. I'm more familiar with 90s movies because my brain had developed more. Maybe that's why I can remember everything.
There were still some really good movies in the 90s.
Yeah, some really good movies.
It's probably about 50-50, but you got some iconic stuff there.
But the music from the 90s so better than the music from the 80s. As far as film scores go, John Williams excluding.
You're right. Now, John Williams notwithstanding.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I could be wrong, guys. What are some of y'all's favorite movies from the 80s and 90s that were not Canon film? I want to see what you guys say.
The Super 8 one?
No, that was 2000s.
Oh, that 2000s?
Yeah,
Super 8 was 2000s.
But it was set in the 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
Watch that with my kids. Scare my daughter to death. That's great.
Gabe
says 90s had a ton of amazing films. I know. There was kind of it's the breakthrough of CGI.
Yep.
That made a huge difference.
Jurassic Park and Starship Troopers being the best examples.
Yeah. And Jurassic Park.
Forrest Gump. Actually, I take it back. Forrest Gump has the best example of CGI because you totally don't even know it's there. Like the rain in the Vietnam scene.
That was CGI?
That was CGI.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. No retreat, no surrender.
Yeah. No retreat, no surrender.
Dento Bean says Devil's Advocate.
Yeah.
Ooh, the game. Oh, the game.
Oh, the game. That's a cool man. Good pull,
Michael
Dento.
Douglas.
Yeah, Michael Douglas and Sean Penn.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a thriller. It's like a mind game thriller. It's like
really?
Gaslighting the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like gaslighting. Gaslight
It's
is
like Escape Game in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. I mean, I say gaslighting the movie like the phrase comes from the movie Gaslight by Alfred Hitchcock, but yes, the game is one of the coolest, like, weird, cerebral kind of thriller movies
Cool.
out there. It's so good. Yeah.
We got Remo Williams.
Fight Club.
Remo Williams. Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption. That's a
Mhm.
good one. That one
That's
troubled
so
me.
good.
Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
Who hasn't seen Pulp Fiction? Awesome.
Yeah.
The Natural. Did I see The Natural? What was
That
The
sounds
Natural about?
familiar. I don't remember. American Cars. You might have to remind us what The Natural. I think I do remember that. Though.
Goodfellas. That's
Oh
weird.
man,
Yeah,
good.
Casino, Goodfellas.
You know what? I don't know which one I like more between Goodfellas and Casino because
Yeah.
I love gangster films.
Yeah.
I love mob movies.
You like mob movies, yeah.
Oh man, Casino was good.
I like Goodfellas because I like Ray Liotta. I think Ray Liotta's cool.
Yeah, he is good.
He was in No Escape, the prison island movie, the near future prison island movie.
Yep.
What is Primal Fear?
Primal Fear. Oh, that had
Richard Gere and Edward Norton, I think. No, I'm thinking of something else.
Silence of the Lambs.
no,
Silence
did
of
it
the
have
Lambs.
Marky Mark? Didn't that have Mark Wahlberg in it?
Oh,
Primal
maybe.
Fear?
Yeah.
Where like a lake house or something, and he's
Robert Redford.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
We got Silence of the Lambs, also a great film.
Mm-hmm.
That iconic, of course, and there were some spin-offs. There were some sequels to that. Let's see. He gets injured and goes from being Babe Ruth to a 40-year-old rookie.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Oh, The Natural is a baseball movie. The Natural is a baseball
The
movie.
Natural,
Okay.
Yeah. There is
All the Rockies.
Yeah, all the Rocky movies. Gabe says 80s had Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Star Wars, and then 5 and 6. So the Ridge Tridge, as Jonathan says, and the Rocky movies, well, at least Rocky 3 and 4. Which Rocky 3 and
they should have stopped.
Rocky 3 and 4 is fantastic. That's Mr. T is 3, and then
Drago.
Drago, yeah.
Drago.
Oh, so good.
My gosh, that was
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah,
Rocky versus He-Man.
Oh man, Mad Max, yeah. Mad Max in the Thunderdome was really good. Scarface. Scarface, I tried to get into because I love mob movies.
Didn't feel the same. Though.
I didn't feel the same.
Yeah,
Didn't feel the same.
Well, because it's not
thuggy.
Italian mafia, so
Yeah.
it's kind of got a different vibe to it.
Yeah.
But Nick always really liked The Bronx Tale.
I liked Bronx Tale. Yep.
Yeah, that's a
Bronx
really good
Tale
one.
was a really good movie. Yeah. Well, Primal Fear was Edward Norton.
It
and
is, yeah,
Richard
okay, that's
Gere.
what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good call.
I'll tell you another good one was the Anthony Hopkins, Alec Baldwin movie, The Edge.
Ooh, yeah. When they go out in the woods.
Yeah, where they get stranded out in the woods and they
Yeah.
have to make their way back. But Alec Baldwin is like this sort of sleazy photographer best friend. And yeah, the original Willow's, yeah.
Man, really brought up
Willow.
Willow.
Willow's all right. And then Anthony Hopkins is like this self-made, very wealthy, very intelligent guy. It's cool. Yeah.
Tinto Bean. Ernest goes to camp. Did you know Gary, my
Yeah.
stepdad, Mr. Macho Man,
Yeah.
loved every Ernest movie? He was a huge Ernest fan.
I can see that. Ernest
Loved
was
that
like
guy.
a blue collar.
That was his sense of, that was
icon.
the only thing that would make him laugh.
Really?
It's the only thing he'd laugh at. Yeah. Pee-wee's Big Adventure was definitely not something that would make my stepdad laugh.
Yeah.
But I remember
we loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy until, the news about him came out. They were like,
Right.
ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was around the same time he did Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Was it?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer maybe came out a little bit before
And
that.
the Princess Bride. Then, Princess Bride.
Let's see. Princess Bride. Princess
As
Bride is
You
huge.
Wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Karate Kids, the Terminators. Man.
I know we could do this forever.
Yeah, we could go on and on. You guys have a lot of favorite movies.
Tequila, what's that?
Oh, that's from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
that's
you
the
did-
song. The Tequila
you
song is a
just-
big movie.
I mean, I've heard the song.
Poor
but I
Joe.
don't know.
Yeah.
I know. Poor Joe's like, why am I hanging out with these old dudes
Oh,
talking
God,
about
say that.
movies made 20
I did
years
say
before
that.
I was born?
The Last Starfighter was cool.
Last Starfighter was cool.
Yeah. It's a cool
Yeah.
premise, as well done as it could be for the time, I think.
It holds up all right.
RoboCop.
Yeah.
I actually never saw that.
RoboCop,
Yeah, I never seen that one.
it's good.
That's pretty good.
RoboCop is very good. You aren't usually allowed to see it until you're older because it's super, like the intro is super bloody.
Oh,
the first like 15 minutes of that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, The Last Starfighter. Yeah, it was good stuff. Well, should we do our end with the obligatories?
I think so. I'd like to mention. Do you want to do this thing?
Yeah,
Before,
do that first. Do that
yeah.
first.
So, actually, we're gonna take Canon Film Guide. Everybody, go buy that. Check that out. It's awesome. We're gonna have Austin back. We'll do more of this. Then, I have something that I'm compiling here. We haven't quite worked out all the details for it yet, but I have something that I'm compiling for the Patreon. I have several copies, all signed, of Stephen Pressfield books. I have The War of Art. I have The Artist's Journey. I actually only have like 2 or 3 of these tops. And then I have the first edition of Government Cheese. I got a few of these. I have a paperback copy of A Man at Arms. And then I also have, I'm trying to like keep these from falling over while I do this. See if I could set up a display.
These are all signed copies, by the way.
All signed copies. I have hardback copies of A Man at Arms. And then I also have signed copies of The Lion's
The
Gate.
Lion's Gate.
Which is the Chronicle of the 6 Days War from the perspective of the survivors.
Dude,
Yeah.
nice. That is
And
cool.
so actually, I want to put this up front because that one doesn't get a whole lot of traction. And then I also
Tricky
have,
says, I deserve those because I'm special.
well, we're getting to that, Tricky. How special you might be for these books. And then I have my books as well. I have, let's see here. Get these going. I won't display these, but I'll just, Joe, you can maybe hold it up.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I got Empyrean Falling.
So I set it up right side or
Yeah.
for the right side? You
So
wanna do like
that's the 5th book. That's Wayfarers. That's
the
Heavenly
first-
Realms, Empyrean Falling.
Yep.
These will not stay up, but it'll be fun watching Joe try.
Oh, they will.
And
We
then,
got the statue right here.
and then
Leo will hold them up for us.
Heavenly Realms, Great Aegis. And then, actually, let's do this one next.
Okay.
Heavenly Realms, Sturm and Drang. This is my Angelic Warfare series books.
I don't want to cover the first one.
It's a 7-novel series. I just finished the revisions for the
Look at this.
7th and
Stay
final
strong,
one.
Leo. Stay strong.
And I have the other 6 that have been fully completed and released. So,
That's
anyways,
my favorite cover. I love that one.
yeah, Joseph said the same thing, that Primus Illuminati's cover is the best.
Well, I think the green one.
the green one, Sturm and Drang.
I think that beats it. I think for me.
Yeah, that it's cute. That one takes place during the flood. That chronicle, so like that's like my retelling of the flood. You should
So
get
much
a
knowledge, I
screen
can't
cap
even
of
see the people anymore.
that. So much logos.
So much logos. Do not
So much
do that.
logos here. Logos cast.
So why do you have all these books with you, Jonathan?
So I'm working up something. I haven't totally ironed out the details on this, but I have multiple copies of all of these, very limited quantity. I also have stickers and magnets, and I have a very limited supply of resin bookmarks for my Heavenly Realms books that I would like to offer to our patrons. I want to do a Patreon exclusive. If you are a Patreon member, I think we're probably going to do it at least at the $10 level and above, but I don't know. We'll talk about it. We'll iron out the details. I want to offer this entire package, everything you see here, for a certain amount of money. I'm thinking somewhere between $200 and $250 for all of this.
Wow.
All of these are signed. All the Pressfield books are signed by Stephen Pressfield. All of my books will be signed by me. You will get stickers and bookmarks on top of it. You know, all this stuff added up probably comes to between probably about $300, honestly, when it's all said and done. So I wanted to offer something, you know, that like we have these not just for ourselves, but also, you know, to sort of spread the word for Stephen Pressfield. But some of this stuff, like, it's really hard to get. And like, this is a first edition.
Yep.
You know, this comes in its own box with its own stuff, and only so many of these exist. And then it's not every day you get signed copies of, you know, the Authentic Swing or the War of Art or a Man at Arms in paperback or hardcover or the Lion's Gate. So I have a lot of this stuff, some greater quantities than others, but I just kind of wanted to do something for our Patreon members of like, if you're interested in a package like this, if you like what you see, if you want a bunch of signed Stephen Pressfield books, signed Heavenly Realms series books with bookmarks and
Like
stickers.
if testosterone was a package.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's just
That's right.
So
if masculinity was a package of books.
That's right. Yeah. You won't have to like go to the doctor for your T shots anymore. 'Cause I got your tea right here, baby. So yeah, so if you're interested in something like this, I'm offering these at a discounted flat rate, the whole package plus some extra little swag. Probably again, I gotta like fine tune the numbers and see like, you know, what I have in them and everything, but I'm thinking like maybe between $200 and $250, something like that.
Is that just for patrons?
Yes, and that is a Patreon exclusive.
Okay.
So you only have access to this deal if you are a patron. So if you are interested in getting signed copies of Stephen Pressfield's books, signed copies of my Heavenly Realms books at a discounted rate, Patreon exclusive, go to our Patreon, check out the tiers. And again, Nick and I will hammer out the finer details of this, but I think this will probably be an Orwell and Up thing. The Orwell is a $10 one, correct? Yeah. Yep. I think this will be an Orwell and Up sort of deal for you guys. Yeah, I just you know, I give these away sometimes to, you know, bookstores or something to help promote Pressfield's books. Mm-hmm. And then every now and then, you know, I might give one away as a Christmas gift. We might do giveaways for some of these, depending on how many we have for our Patreon members. But I wanted to show you guys what one of the things, the benefits are for being a Patreon member is getting access to like deals like this and stuff like this. So, so yeah, if you're interested, become a Patreon member. Join the Patreon.
Patreon.com/the Gosslings. We'd love your support there.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's give our patrons a shout out, starting with our Hemingway, our top level patrons, Hemingway level patrons, Mama Shaw OC, Jody S, and American Cars, who joined us tonight.
Yeah.
Also, Orwell level patrons at the $10 level, Christy, Mike, Ice Queen Empress, Blue Eyed Bandit, Carol, Jamie, Sean, Sonny, Michelle, Charlotte.
Yeah.
We love you guys. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah, it means a lot to us.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys get shout outs for your support. Absolutely. And we love seeing you guys on the chat and love the conversation every week. So
yeah,
thanks for being here.
Yeah,
even this one is
fun.
Even though this one was really rocky. With the
you guys pulled this one out of the gutter.
Yeah.
So because of our technical issues.
Yeah.
But we learned something today, you know?
Yeah, we did.
So
yeah, and I have a feeling I'm going to be learning a lot more this week as I try to patch that up. So I'm going to be learning a lot more. Oh,
the emotional damage right there.
Yeah, Nick really
I got a lot of this one.
Emotional damage.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, I think that's it for us. Anything else you want to say?
No. Thank you for watching. Thank you to everybody for hanging with us when we had to do a hard reboot on our system. Actually, one thing you will also get
oh my gosh,
with the Patreon.
This is worth the price of admission.
If you become
right
a Patreon member and you buy this package from me, again, I have extremely limited quantities of all this stuff. However, I will sign one of these and send it to you.
Now they're gonna buy it. Now they're flooding the chat right now.
This is probably worth the money because
what is that? Oh, that's you.
That's me. Nick and I, when we were little, we did this. Our parents did this photo shoot for us, and it is the most embarrassing thing. And like some of these pictures were like blown up in color and framed and hanging in our house.
That's legendary.
Behind locked doors.
Dang.
Definitely in the guest room.
Extremely limited.
Yeah.
Right here.
So you will get one of these so you can laugh at me in perpetuity because this is too embarrassingly funny to keep hidden forever.
Legendary. Absolutely.
And Nick's are even better. I wish I had copies of Nick's pictures. I was able to find the originals, and you'll see them. If you're a Patreon member, like you actually will see pictures.
You better
of
hold
them.
on to those originals.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So
All right. Well, that's all we got for you guys tonight. Thanks for
Yes.
hanging with us, and we'll see you next week
absolutely
with Pete from Creepy
Yeah.
Little Book.
Pete from Creepy Little Book.
Yep.
I'm Jonathan.
I'm Nick,
We are the Goslings. Go forth
and strike down the darkness.
Amen, baby.
See